How are you doing, sir?
Just fine. How are you?
Pretty good. You're coming up first here and coming up later on with J.J. Dillon. And what have you been up to since, your late wrestling days and everything? What have you been up to? Why don't you give our listeners a little bit of an update as to what's been up with Bunkhouse Bunk?
Well, I'm still in the game. I'm still wrestling, going tonight up in Kentucky. Going to take care of some business up there. So, we hadn't give it up yet. Still in pretty good shape.
Oh, great
Very
stuff.
cool. Now,
so
my
I guess
question.
You should go ahead.
Go ahead, Jonathan. My question for you is, what was it like to begin wrestling when you did?
There you go.
Well, it was very exciting. I was real nervous, of course, but it was exciting. Something I'd looked forward to, being that I'd been around it all my life. So I was fortunate enough to have some size and the ability to do it, and a lot of good people training me. So it was something all during my childhood. That when I got old enough and big enough, first chance I'd be getting in the ring.
Definitely understandable. Jonathan Clark, go ahead.
Now, you did a lot of tag team work, and you also wrestled in the same territory as your father, I do believe. His name is Billy Golden. What was it like for you working in the same territory as your father?
Well, I was very fortunate. I knew he was enjoying seeing his son being able to do quite well in the business. He was proud of that, just the same as that I'm proud of my son for being an All-American ball player. We're real close. I'm from a divorced family, so, we lived together, worked together, wrestled together, rode up and down the road together, so, I miss him very much. I wish I could go through it again.
Definitely. Daryl, go ahead.
Hi. My question to you is, how did it feel to be in a tag team with your own cousin?
I'm sorry, repeat.
Okay, no problem. I said, how did it feel to be in a tag team with your own cousin?
Fantastic. Robert Fuller, were you talking about, and Ron Fuller, two first cousins, grew up together, come up wrestling together. Their daddy and my mother is brother and sister, makes us first cousin, and, Robert and Ron were very good in the ring. In my book, they was. So, we held some tag team championships together, and it was an interesting part of my life.
And definitely understandable on that. It's got to be really nice being able to team with your family and knowing that they're right there next to you.
Yes. You can always count on them to do their very best.
Oh, yeah. What was it like wrestling in Australia for Jim Barnett?
That was 2 months I spent over there in the early 70s, and I got to meet Brute Bernard, Gary Hart, King Curtis, Mark Lewin, a bunch of great Australian wrestlers. Phil Dundee's from there, George Barnes, and the list goes on and on. I had a wonderful time in Australia. I always wanted to go back and was supposed to go back, but ran into a problem there and didn't get to go back. But Jim Barnett was very nice to me, and I always respected Jim for being a big-time promoter. Jim was famous for drawing money everywhere he went, and I like Jim.
Oh, yeah. As long as promoters take care of you, you should like them. So, Jonathan Clark, go ahead.
You've been around a lot of tag teams, Mr. Buck, and you've worked with a lot of them, Legion of Doom, and a lot of teams in WCW and even in the indie circuit. But I want to get your thoughts primarily on the tag team of the Rock and Roll Express, which you've been around. What are your thoughts, opinions on them? You got any good stories about them? Go off on them. What do you want to say about them?
Well, we had some tough matches with the Rock and Roll Express.
Mm-hmm.
They're both very good. The Robert Gibson, I knew his brother, Ricky Gibson, come up together, me and him, got in the business about the same time. So, you know, and Robert was tagged up with Ricky Morton, who was special man in the ring in my book. We had some knockdown, drag-outs with him. You know, I have nothing but respect for them guys. I always look forward to the matches against them because I knew, you know, it was going to be a barn burner. So, you know, them guys have had a great run. They've had their problems here and there, but, you know, everybody remembers the Rock and Roll Express. So, you know, I'm hoping maybe I get to get in there with them one more time before I quit.
Probably will.
Daryl Malone, go ahead.
All right, my next question to you, sir, is you were part of a tag team called the Avengers. What was that like for you?
Repeat the question, please.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I said you were part of a tag team called the Avengers. What was that like for you?
You know, I've always pretty much enjoyed any part of the business that I ever done, whether if I wrestled under a mask, if I was Bunkhouse Buck, if I was Jimmy Golden. You know, it don't matter to me as long as I'm stepping in the ring. Of course, it's a business. It's about money. But, you know, as long as you're having a good time at it, most of the time, you know, you got your bumps and your bruises and some unfortunate accidents that happen from time to time where you're going to get hurt. But, you know, I had to count my blessings that I've been real lucky that I'm still able to do it and haven't been hurt seriously enough that it put me out of the business yet. So, you know, I got nothing but good things to say about the business, really.
And definitely, that's always good when you don't have anything bad to say. There's a lot of guys with bitter feelings, and it's just good to hear that you're not one. Do you have any good road stories you'd like to share with us?
Gosh, you know, it's just been so many. It's hard to say, man. I guess one that stands out is going from San Antonio, Texas to Odessa for Blanchard. That was back in the late 70s, and that was a 360-mile trip one way that was all flat, straight road. We had a rental car, and it seemed like we drove 120 miles an hour all the way there and back. And Bruiser Brody was there, and, you know, Bruiser was something else. He was a special guy in the ring, too. But, you know, Odessa's trip stands out, that how long it took, how many jackrabbits we must have ran over before we got back, because the road's full of them out there. You know, but we had a great time out there. There was some good, interesting people out there. Ken Lucas was there at the time, the man that I stayed with while I was there. And of course, Tully and his dad was still in business there. And it was an interesting trip.